Welcome to Workplace Psychology with Dr. Martha Greidick. I'm Dr. Martha Greidick. This podcast examines a wide variety of work-related issues through the lens of industrial and organizational psychology. And while many of the topics discussed here may be seen as intended for white-collar employees and their employers, in reality, the ideas presented here are applicable across organizations and industries. Additionally, many of the topics discussed here may be applicable outside of the workplace. I encourage you to examine what's presented here, apply what makes sense to you, and simply discard the rest. Whether you're facing a project so big that it seems like an impossible task, or you're facing a smaller project that you're absolutely dreading for some reason, it can seem like an impossible task to get things done. It's easy to become overwhelmed or to avoid the tasks altogether. But it doesn't have to be this hard. There are ways of tackling even the biggest of projects or the most undesirable of projects and still get them done. First things first, you have to start at the beginning. First, you need to know whether there are deadlines associated with your project, whether those are formal deadlines or implied deadlines. It's important that you understand whether there are deadlines and what those deadlines are before you begin the project. The next thing to consider is the importance of working on the project every day for a specific amount of time. And when you know the deadline, you can figure out just how much time you have to devote to the project on a daily basis. Maybe it could be something like half an hour or an hour. Or if it's a bigger project with an earlier deadline, you may have to devote more time to working on your project every day. When you start to think in those terms, it becomes much easier to tackle a project of any size. Once you figure out how much time and energy you need to devote to this project every day, it's also important to consider the kind of help that you may need or that you should ask for. Sometimes it's easy to assume that you don't need any help and can get it all done on your own. And while that may be true for many situations, many projects, the reality is that there is nothing wrong with seeking assistance, especially if it makes the experience an easier one for you and gets the project done in a faster and more efficient way. So what kind of help could you seek out? Well, you could look for resources, any kind of resources that would help you with the project. Such resources could include anything from information to budgets to people and time. Remember that there are most likely people out there who are just as good as you at some things, or maybe even better than you are at some things. And engaging such people with your project may be tremendously beneficial to completing the project and getting it done not only on time, but also in a way that makes it really stand out. Whenever possible, it's important to collaborate with others. Other people are a tremendous resource. So whether you can name some individuals as resources right off the top of your head, or you have to give it some time and some thought before you can come up with one or two or even more people who could help out with the project. it will be an activity that's well worth it in the end. Talented individuals are a tremendous resource for any project. Remember the importance of delegating tasks to others whenever you're able to do so. Again, sometimes we get stuck in the thinking that we have to get everything done by ourselves. But when you're able to delegate tasks to others, that frees up your time to focus on other things. So don't forget to delegate whenever appropriate and possible. Seek out any other form of support. What does that mean? Well, maybe you work with other individuals who don't necessarily help you directly with the project. However, they're able to help you with other tasks or other things, other responsibilities that you have, therefore freeing up your time to devote more of your energy to the big project at hand. So remember that collaborating with others is not limited to only working with those individuals who can help with the project directly, but also with others who can support you in different ways that allows you to have more time and energy to devote to the project itself. Remember that your commitment is critical to making progress. If you're not committed to devoting however much time you calculated at the beginning that needs to be devoted on a daily basis, for example, then you are effectively interfering with your ability to get to the finish line and completing the task, getting things done as planned, as required, as necessary. So your commitment to the project and to your efforts on a regular basis, for example, on a daily basis, is key. When you're facing a large project, you may want to break it up into smaller goals so that you can measure your progress as you move forward towards the end goal. This way, it can be encouraging to see that you are making your progress, that there is a return to your efforts. And if you're tackling a project that you simply did not want to do for some reason, it doesn't even have to be a big project. Take heart in knowing that every time you devote the predetermined amount of time and effort to it, you are getting that much closer to the finish line. So before you know it, the project will be completed and you won't have to worry about it anymore. As this episode comes to an end, let's review what was discussed. Whether you're tackling a project so big that it seems like an impossible task, or one that may be smaller but you're not exactly excited about it, there are ways of approaching any project that will improve your experience with the project itself and with getting things accomplished, getting things finished. It can be quite simple. You start at the beginning. Figure out if there are deadlines, and from there, figure out how much time you need to devote to the project every day to get it completed by that deadline. It's really that simple. But remember that you don't have to do it alone. Make sure that you seek out help whenever possible. That help may come as resources or as collaborating with other people or as delegating tasks to other people or as having people help you with tasks outside of the project so that you may devote more of your time and energy to the project at hand. And remember that your commitment is critical to your progress and therefore to getting the project finished, to getting things done. As the week unfolds, I invite you to consider what you learned here today in terms of how you approach big or small projects and how efficient you are with making them a good experience for yourself. So, do you approach these projects with reservation or even dread? Or do you get organized, start at the beginning, get all the help that you need and that you can get, and then work regularly and steadily towards the end goal, towards the finish line? These are simple things to consider, but sometimes it's easy to get derailed by feeling overwhelmed or by even avoiding things that seem too difficult or too big in their nature. So it's so important that you take some time and consider how you tackle projects, big or small, and then make the adjustments in your own experience, in your own approach, so that these projects are not as scary as you move forward. Thank you for joining me today. Please subscribe to this podcast. I hope that you will join me again next time. Until then, I wish you joy and well-being.